Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Oh, goodness. Hi, good morning, everybody.
Happy Friday, all.
Happy Friday. Oh, my goodness, it is Friday already.
Yeah.
This week is just flown by.
Well, of course, we were not well at the start of the week, so it's been kind of a short week and a lot of catching up. And some big stuff kind of happened the last few days. So
I know, it's like a broken record, guys. You guys are always talking about it's a big happening season.
Well, it's not all us. Like some of this stuff is big stuff happening with others where we're being invited into this stuff. And so it's like, wow, this wasn't on our roadmap.
Wasn't on our roadmap, wasn't on our schedule right now. But it's like, all right, we're in. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Same old announcements, all of that.
August 1st.
August 1st.
Get yourself registered.
Get yourself registered.
BHPHNationTV.com. So just remember that's where you can find the thing.
Yeah. And
And September 18th is, I'm talking to a couple people. I mean, within a few days here, we could be out of spots here. So I think if you have an interest in that Colorado retreat, Breckenridge, Colorado,
hanging out with us and a couple of other cool people too.
Former 3-star general, retired 3-star general.
Yeah,
we got a chance to really make some big differences in some businesses. So it's for dealers that are facing a big pivot.
And it's really honestly like nothing anyone has ever experienced before in this industry.
Yeah.
So it'll be
it's a mastermind / retreat / leadership event. Like there's just a lot of cool stuff happening there. So it's exciting.
Well, today's topic was something that we've been looking at and seeing and feeling and experiencing and we just thought, this would be a really good thing to talk about. And Jim talked about it briefly in a Tote the Note podcast with Brent Carmichael, which we're going to be bringing up a clip from that. But it's
we're talking about ego.
We're talking about ego
and something some of us think we don't have.
Well, and it's funny. I have a friend of mine who she was on this quest for a while, this kind of spiritual quest for a little while, where she was going to strip away ego, and she tried and she tried and she tried, and she kind of got to the point where she finally realized that she just needed to make friends with it.
Good.
And that it's not an enemy.
Good.
It's a friend, and it's a necessary part of who she is.
Right.
So, good morning, George.
It's probably a necessary part of who we all are.
Yeah.
So let's just make it clear right off the bat. Ego is not a bad thing.
And it is talked about in negative terms a lot of times. It's like, oh my God, listen to that ego.
Yeah.
Or, just that ego is just something that is usually something that's spoken of in negative terms.
And so this comes up. I've written articles on it in the past. I referred to the article in the conversation with Brent Carmichael. So those of you not familiar, we have another series of podcasts called Tote the Note. We've got a dozen episodes or so, and several of them with
really
Brent Carmichael.
Deep comment or deep topics.
Yeah, and so there was a series over there we called it The Hardest Questions in Buy Here, Pay Here, and Brent Carmichael joined as a co-host on that, and we talked through several things. One of the topics was why dealers fail. And so we ended up at the end of that episode talking about ego. Like I brought it up and just trying to say, look, I'll be the one to offend people. I mean, that's kind of what I say. But we can go ahead and cue it.
Do you want to cue it?
Yeah, go ahead. We can talk about it on the other side of it.
We can do that. Let's go ahead and add that to stream, and we're gonna chat about that. Let me go here, and we'll go here, and we'll go dun 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 dun. There we go.
That is so important. And I'll be the one to step out there and offend a few of our. I'm going to pause it for just a second and explain that Brent had just talked about how when dealers are new to a 20 group, like they've been kind of operating their own thing and they feel like they've had success, and now they come into a 20 group and they load their numbers in a composite, and now they're seeing their numbers in a composite compared to others, and they're suddenly having to kind of re-examine their own business model and business approach, because they're seeing numbers in a different way, stacked up against somebody else. And so suddenly it kind of forced that conversation. So now you'll hear me kind of answer to some of that of our listeners in that, I talk about this some just because I think it has to be said. And so I want to try to make sure I say the entire thing, which is I've written in articles in the past where I talk about ego of us in our industry. Sometimes that's ego of entrepreneurs. Sometimes it's ego, but in our car industry, many of us in that space, that part of why we've had success. Some of us are type A plus individuals, and some of us bring a little bravado and ego. And I say ego by itself is not a bad word. It's what I wrote in the article before. It's like ego is not such a bad thing. Most of us navigate from some type of ego in almost everything we do every day. It's just that when ego starts to run amok a little bit, it can cloud our business judgment. And I think in buy here, pay here, that's especially dangerous because we have lots of pieces. And typically where we see the ego manifest is on the sales side of things. I'm going to outsell, I'm going to become the biggest operation, in my area, whatever, I'm going to outsell the competitor. And so what I hope what people are hearing from us today is that it's not just a sales business. We'd hope that you would bring that ego to the collection side of your business, maybe, and have a lot of pride in that side as well. But I'm just trying to make sure that we say it like, it's part of what our makeup can be as car dealers. If I just put myself in that group for a minute, it's like, that's part of our makeup, and that's not a bad thing. It's just, we have to learn how to kind of harness that and keep it in check so that we can step out of our echo chamber. We can take the blinders off from our business model and our business approach and go out there and find some help. So, you pick up the phone and you call NCM and ask for Brent Carmichael. That's your first call, and he'll be leading a 20 group somewhere, and he'll have to call you back. But he basically is somebody you want to call to get that kind of help. But yeah, I think that's just something I try to just make sure we say when we get a chance to talk about it, is like, I'm not afraid to go out there and say, this is something we need to be mindful of in our space, is that ego can put us in a bad place. It can cloud our judgment, right?
Well, and I think you'll agree with this. I think we associate success every time with profit. I've known dealers that are not in business that were making money.
Right.
On their financial statement showed profit, and they looked at that and kind of beat their chest on, well, my business is making X, but they couldn't pay their bills.
Right. Yeah.
At that point, or they violated a covenant with their bank, and a bank called the note, but they're going, I'm making money. And so, yeah, I mean, there is some of that to it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm guilty of that as well. When I was a dealer, we were pretty convinced, again, once you get to as many locations as we got to and sold cars like we did, we weren't a benchmark dealer by any stretch of the imagination, but we weren't below average either. So there was a little bit, I'm going to be honest with you, a chip on my shoulder when I left what I would consider working for a living and got on this side and started to truly see what successful dealers were. And yes, 800 cars in a month looks good and the profitability looks good. But as I got to go through some metrics of some of these other dealers, a true story, I called my previous owners and actually apologized to them after about 3 years with NCM and said, I cost you guys hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yes, we did well. The business did well. It sold and you guys made a lot of money. But I just want you to know, I screwed some of this up. Had I known then what I know now, this thing could have been much better than what it was. And it's your point exactly. It was just ego. I was members of 20 groups with not only NCM, but another company as well. And we would sit in meeting rooms and we would be the largest dealer in there. And everybody would talk about how great we were and look at what you guys are doing. And you kind of get a little drunk with that. And you just go, well, what else do we need to do? And then, like I said, being on this side, being around the hundreds of dealers that I've been around, small and large, either one, we can learn just as much from the guys selling 15 or 20 cars a month in some cases than you can the guys that are selling 200 and 300 cars.
Right. That's a good place to stop. I think, a couple of things there. I mean, what you heard him say was that, small or large, right? And that he basically also said in his own situation, he didn't know then what he knows now. So I think that's where the ego piece can come in. And I'll share that part of what brought this up is we've been meeting with some people that we're exploring the idea of having them join our team, whether it's as an executive or contractor, whatever that looks like. And as we explore that, I find myself saying to them what I think, which is about, we feel like we have a good sense of where we want to go in direction with our company, right? You and me with our own company. And now when we meet with people and they start to share, and sometimes they're assessing, whatever strategy we might have. And we bring a little ego
We
to
do,
that.
'cause
We
it's
all
like,
bring ego.
ouch.
Yeah, if they have a different idea. But it's like what I said to them is like, look, as a coach, as somebody who makes a living as a consultant and coach, it doesn't feel right to me to bring an expert in. That person is an expert in their discipline. It doesn't make sense to bring them in and then not listen to their advice. So what would stop me from listening to their advice?
So it's, we talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Ego good, bad, I hate it, bad, is when you are uncoachable, when you are beyond anyone else's experience.
Yeah.
When it's kind of that thing that Brent Carmichael was talking about, where, people are like, you're so awesome, because that can just really fire up the ego. And that makes you feel like you're pretty dang special. And so it's like, I am king of the world, and, come and listen to what we do that makes us so wonderful. And it's like, when you're unable to learn from others' experiences and are uncoachable, that's kind of where we get into the bad.
That's where it starts to get dangerous, frankly. And that's the word I used, in that conversation with Carmichael, because I do view it as dangerous when we have blinders on and we aren't able to, hear advice from others, as you said. And that could be small dealer, could be large dealer. And nobody here's selling coaching this morning. I mean, of course, one of the things you could do is go find a coach. Yeah. But in addition to that, you could join a 20 group. You could find a mentor, but don't hire a coach and then not listen to them. Don't go seek out a mentor and then not listen to them. Like, that's our own ego getting in the way of, we know what we're doing.
Or even, if you're ready to move or shift or, change something, it's like, hey, I want to grow, or I want to, whatever, that there are people out there that know how to do that. And so just be open to listening to the advice of others. I mean, you can go to a conference or whatever and just talk to people and be willing to just kind of soak in the things that are happening around you. But, I find too sometimes that ego and shame can be intertwined as well. And that there's a level, it's like of being caught up in ego where I don't want to ask anyone for help, and you need help. And why is it you don't want to ask anyone for help?
Yeah.
Because if you did, then you're not as good as everyone thinks you are. And so it's like, so that ego too can be ugly in that where it's like, hey, if you need something, don't let what you're afraid other people will think get in your way of asking for help if you need help.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you brought that part of it to the conversation, because it is something that we observe in all facets of life. Like I say, ego is just part of, in my way of thinking, it's part of what keeps us alive, frankly. I mean, it's part of how we make a judgment. And it's also, look, we've talked about, with children for years, you've heard children, it's important to install some sort of, self-esteem, right?
Yeah.
So self-esteem is a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's a good thing for us to have some level of confidence.
I can do anything.
Yeah.
That's It's like, get the right help. Okay.
Yeah. So it's an interesting balance where, ego and self-esteem is good stuff. It's like, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just, we have to be prepared to, and this is like, I'm just saying us, anybody, we have to be able, like in our business, for our business to achieve what is possible, we have to find help. We have to,
Mhm.
we're not going to do it all
We
ourselves.
have to be willing to listen. And Tyler Simmons just popped in. And it's like, it applies to the inside as well. Employees at all levels have ideas and unique perspectives. You have to be willing to listen and understand where they're coming from, ego aside, which I think is so important.
I'll tell you what,
And
we've shared that Jerry Martinez, a retired 3-star general, is joining as our CEO, right? And when we
not wrapped up in ego, that guy.
So one of the things he talked about in leadership, like he shared with us a really important nugget. It has stuck with me since we met with him for that drink in Vegas. He shared, as we talked about that, he said, one of the things about being a leader is you have to first accept that you're not the smartest person in the room, or that somebody else may have a better solution to the problem than you do.
Has a better solution to the problem that you do.
So
it's not just
right.
It's likely have a better solution.
And that our job as leader is not to go solve the problem as much as is to find the resources, bring the people, elevate the people who can help.
Absolutely.
Right. And so that's such a core part of leadership. And it kind of ties to what we're talking about here. For that leader to be able to take that role that Jerry described, you have to be able to shed some ego and lift up the others in the room. It's not about me. It's about us.
And this actually, it kind of goes into a couple of other things that we've been talking about recently, and we'll probably do another podcast on this. And that is the difference between a boss or manager and a leader.
Good. Yeah.
Because there's a big difference between the two.
Absolutely.
And, we'll talk about that another time, but it's about being a leader, and a leader is someone that is going to realize a leader is someone who brings people who are smarter than they are to the table.
Yeah.
And a leader is willing to recognize that there is likely an answer in this room that I don't know.
Yeah.
That it's held within one of these people that are sitting around this table, that there's an answer, or there's a really good perspective, or there's a really good, way of approaching this challenge, or, opportunity, or whatever it is.
Sure. Very nice. I think that's a conversation I look forward to. We can bring that back. And I think, and I'm so excited to introduce Jerry Martinez to our listeners, because just his
he's really
the positions that he's held, and with humility is big.
And just sweet man. You could sit and have a long conversation about the things of the day and have no idea that this man has sat at tables that he has sat at, because he's just so dang approachable. And so he's not caught up in ego.
I think the next time Jerry and I get together, we'll be talking mostly about jalapeno chicken. That's kind of the
because
thing that we have in
it's
common.
They're Guymanites from Guyman, Oklahoma, and
small little place, but it's a good place to get jalapeno chicken.
We can exactly. So what else do you want to talk about?
I think we should let folks get back to their Friday. Like there's stuff to do, and we got stuff.
So the moral.
Is there a moral today?
There's a moral. It's ego's not a bad thing. And so it's always a good idea, I think, any human out there, to take a internal check when you're feeling, especially when someone approaches you with an idea, or a help of some way, or it's like, just here's something that you might want to try. If you feel a lot of friction because it goes against what you're doing right now, or it goes, it's just observe that, look at that, and it's like, is that because my ego's getting in the way, or is that because this truly is not an idea that works?
Well, we've talked about this in a different way in the past, but it's really in this same vein about when things get difficult, when it's not working quite the way you thought. And to use Brent's point, let's say you're profitable, but you're struggling on cash, then the temptation can be, I know how to do this. I'm going to just work longer hours. I'm going to burrow in. I'm going to collect some more car payments. I know how to do this. And so that's a dangerous place, because you're just, I think I'm just asking folks to recognize when they find themselves in that spot, is when it's difficult, be prepared to go find some help from folks who know how to fix that thing. And
Mhm.
so it's like, it's part of what can, and I want to say it's all good until it starts to cloud our judgment. If it clouds
Yeah.
our business judgment, then it becomes
And,
dangerous.
going back to, like the experience that we've had recently, we had a meeting last night with someone who we may be bringing on the team who's very well versed in a lot of things, in the branding and marketing. And, we talk about branding and marketing every day. So, it's like,
Yeah.
and to sit back and watch someone else observe your operation and your plan and start to pick certain things up and apart, or
identify opportunities.
identify opportunities or whatever, and it's like, okay,
Mhm.
all right,
Mhm.
yeah, and it's you're an opportunity. It's your own opportunity when you have people that are um that have an expertise in whatever, and they say, hey, here's a problem,
Mhm.
here's what we should do to do it. It's like there is a lot of benefit to just being very open to, all right, I need to look at it through this perspective,
Mhm.
and recognize that there's a lot of wisdom and truth, and yeah, all that.
I'm going to put our phone number on the screen because
Yeah.
folks need our help. They need some help from somebody with our particular
Yeah.
expertise. Reach out. There's how you can call or text right there. There's
And
also,
if we
you
can't
could
help
also
you, we'll
reach.
put you in the right direction.
Well, yeah,
Jeez.
I said, call NCM, ask for Brent Carmichael,
Mhm.
and talk about a 20 group
Wait for
for
him to return your phone
consulting.
call.
Yeah. You got John Dismukes, who's overseeing the 20 groups for NIADA. You can reach out to John Dismukes. If you need to know how to find him, reach out to us. We'll put you in touch. It's
Mhm.
just there are places to get resources and get help. And I think, again, for today, it's just about just acknowledging that there could be somebody out there who knows how to do this better than I do, or has a different
Yep.
idea. And so
Yeah.
that's about being open and
Yeah.
accepting that, somebody else may have an idea here.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that, if you guys, anytime y'all have an idea about something that you would like us to talk about, then, just let us know.
Mhm.
Private message us. We do have one topic that we're not ready to talk about yet because we're looking for the right expert to bring on the show with us. And it's about hiring.
Mhm.
And because someone asked us about, finding good talent.
Right.
And we have our own, we have ideas and things that we've shared with clients, but we recognize that we're looking to see if we can find that expert that can come in and talk about the market today, what it is that we're looking at, and that we can talk to someone who really understands it and knows it and can speak to some of the challenges that we are having in our industry, finding good talent and keeping good talent.
Yeah. So if
right now.
somebody listening knows somebody with that kind of expertise, let's get in touch.
We've got a
'cause
couple of feelers out there right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
and just waiting to hear back from a couple of different people.
Mhm.
But so willing and happy to
Meet somebody new.
meet someone new and
Mhm.
have someone suggest for that. So,
Yeah.
all righty. Thank you guys so much for listening today. And it is Friday. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Most of y'all have a short day tomorrow and can enjoy the weekend. And it's summertime. Get out there and enjoy some summertime activities this
There you
weekend.
go.
All right.
Have a
We'll
good
see
Friday.
you
Good
all
weekend.
on Monday. Have a great day.